Okay, now it's funny. The president making light of sequestration cuts he had once called catastrophic a little more than a week earlier. The venue, Washington's famed Gridiron Dinner. It's a mix of Washington political and media heavyweights mingling and laughing with the commander-in-chief, this time playing the role of crisis comic-in-chief, even kidding about sequestration cuts with lines like this. Quote, "My joke writers have been placed on furlough," or "There's one thing in Washington that didn't get cut, the length of this dinner. Yet more proof that the sequester makes no sense." You know, everybody had a good laugh. In fact, I got a kick out of those remarks, but good grief. Remember the anything but funny warnings from the same guy about the same sequestration, of which no good could come at all.
The longer these cuts remain in place, the greater the damage to our economy. A slow grind that will intensify with each passing day.
There was exactly a laugh track there. You didn't know it. Anyway, we kid to make a serious point. Which is it? Let's just say Michelle Fields has had enough of it, and the president's not so humorous 180 on it. Michelle, it is odd because you and I can remember a couple of weeks back, hell was a-coming, and now it's a joke line.
Well, this is their new strategy. They realized that the way they handled this backfired. So their new strategy is to laugh it off because they realize they've become a punchline. So they're just laughing it off like no big deal. But at the same time, they're trying to make these cuts as painful as possible. We see that that's what the White House cancellation of the tours is all about, trying to make it as painful for the public as possible. And we know that a U.S. Ranger came forward to FoxNews.com and said that the National Park Service was told as well to make it as painful, the cuts as painful as possible to the public. So they're hoping that in time, people will realize, well, the Obama administration was right for making this as big of a deal as it was because these cuts were actually very painful. So that's what it's all about. Laugh about it now, but at the same time, make it painful for the public.
But in the meantime, you're joking about it right now, and you're in this weird juxtaposition of not being able to brag about the markets racing to new record highs every day under your watch, Mr. President. So normally you could take a quick bow and credit for that, as any president would, I think, if the market soared as much as it has under this president. But he can't because that's acknowledging things are looking up, or that the sequestration cuts were not the hell people thought they would be. So ultimately, joke on him.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people are upset by how he handled the sequestration. You know, he made this out to be a huge deal, and it really wasn't. There weren't long lines at the airport. Our food wasn't contaminated. And I think people were really upset by the sense of entitlement among public government employees. You know, the public has been suffering through a horrible economy for years now, through unemployment, job cuts, layoffs, etc. And then as soon as it started to touch public employees, then it was the Y2K all over again. The world was going to end. And Americans were really upset about that because they've been suffering through the realities of the economy for years now. And as soon as it touched public employees, then it's, oh, Y2K, the world is about to end.
But, you know, you can get a reputation for, fear-mongering too much, right? And so the American people might then start saying, well, wait a minute, he's whining about stuff again, and the next Washington dinner, he'll be joking about it afterwards. So we see a pattern here. We're not going to get snookered here.
Exactly. And what he's doing is he's undermining his presidency by basically making this out to be this huge deal and it not happening. And so he's trying to back off now and trying to make it seem like, well, I wasn't exaggerating. It wasn't as bad as it was going to be.
Well, one of these times you're going to have to be genuinely afraid of something that's going to happen. I could threaten my kids all I want, but it falls on deaf ears if I keep doing it. But one of the times, if you swallow that, it really will poison you. But, you know, it begins to get old after a while. Michelle, thank you very much. Good seeing you again.
Thank you.